Yabba bum ba-dum 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 yabba da boomina 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 boomina. Gather round, ye lads and lasses, set ye for a while, and hark upon me mournful tale about the Emerald Isle. Let's raise our glasses high to friends and family gone, and lift our voices in another Irish drinking song. Consumption took me mother, and me father got the pox. Me brother drank the whiskey till he wound up in a box. Me other brother in the troubles met with his demise. Me sister has forever closed her smiling Irish eyes. Now everybody's died, so until our tears are dried, we'll drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink some more. We'll dance and sing and fight until the early morning light, then we'll throw up, pass out, wake up, and then go drinking once again. Kenny was killed in Kilkenny, and Clare she died in Clare. A tipper-he died up in the derriere. Sean and jumped into the river, Sean and back and Joan. Ernie is now in an urn, and Tom is in the tomb. Cleanliness is godliness, me great-granduncle sing. He broke his back a-sipping on a dark Irish spring. Oh, Grady, he was 80, but his bride was just a pup. He died upon the honeymoon when she got this Irish up. Everybody's died, so until our tears are dried, we'll drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink some more. We'll dance and sing and fight until the early morning light, then we'll throw up, pass out, wake up, and then go drinking once again. Oi! Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. Feeling much better now. Ophelia has some notes. Let's see. All right. Thank you, Ophelia. You're a lovely secretary. Disclaimer. Nate contradicts himself a lot, but life is full of contradictions. He's not here to be right all the time, only to get your noggin jogging. Well, thank you. That is true and honest, and I appreciate that. So, what else here? A lot of things we've been learning about Israel and Zionists post-October 7th indicates they're either mostly artificially propped up by manipulation, be it by bots or by lies that they sold to people, and what does stand out as real is both way dumber, out of touch, and more pathetic than previously thought. Well, that's very, very true. I hate it, but it's kind of funny. I talk about Turkey Tom, he immediately gets felted. I share my free beat type music playlist. 90% gets privated. And something genuinely bad. I talk about Darkest Dungeon. The badass narrator dies immediately. I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. Got that bad luck sometimes, but you know what? It's coincidental, I'm sure. You focus on something and then it gets a little right. It's like when Null focused on K-Flay. And then her career kind of... Well, it's not like it went out, it's just it got significantly lamer and more mainstream. But that's the whole thing, you know. It's not necessarily like that's because you started paying attention. It's because you were paying attention, right? So it's more of a coincidence, I'd say. You don't want to think that the things that you like are somehow not something that you should talk about by risk. You know, it's... And I kind of see that with Null. I see how a lot of the stuff he talks about on his stream kind of gets attacked, right? So it gets attacked by bad actors all over the place. I've seen them, I know them. And, you know, it makes you not want to talk about the things that you like, but that's an intimidation tactic. You should be able to share what you like. You should be able to grow what you like. You shouldn't have to keep everything cloistered and private all the time. It's one of the reasons why I'm going to go into anonymity back later on. I mean, I went into it last episode. I really don't respect anonymity. I don't respect anonymity specifically because, like, not talking about, like, you gotta share your address and shit. I don't respect anonymity because who knows who the hell you are. You could be in Gujarat. You could be in Hong Kong. You can be in Taiwan. You can be in Morocco, for all I know. You could be in Eritrea. You can be in North Korea. You know? I don't know if you're somebody whose opinion actually matters to me. So, if you're anonymous, why the hell should I care? Anyways, I wouldn't chase off your anonymity, but like if the group that you're a part of demands to be anonymous, I think that group is shit. I really do. A big disconnect people have is that of sci-fi fantasy and the minimalist pragmatism of war. You'll always have military equipment fall into the hands of your enemies directly. Always. So the aesthetically pleasing machines of fantasy don't resemble machines of war. It's very true. Very true. The only time I can think that wasn't the case was some period in between the end of World War II and 1969. There's a little bit that popped up in Victorian England. There's a little bit that popped up after the rise of the Nazi Party. And the Ottomans have a little touch of that here and there. But it's never a sign that things are going good. Like the Zimbabwe army, you know, with that hyper aesthetic, and they like, like they're pretending they're super soldiers because they got some extra plastic on them. Pretty funny. Pretty funny. Just like the whole Russian super soldiers things. A lot of that is just to sell people down the river of, you know, join the military and you'll have cool stuff later on. Like, you gotta keep fantasy where fantasy dwells. And there's no better fantasy than Warhammer 40k. Warhammer's boring, in my opinion. Genuinely boring, because the field is tapped out with things that are much, much more interesting. We're gonna get into J.R.R. Tolkien later. But, yeah, I much, much prefer Warhammer 40k because you literally can see about 15,000 years baked up in the storyline, and then it propels it so far in the future that, well, the thing is, like, I like the Dune the Butlerian Jihad. I like the original Dune movie with Patrick Stewart. But oh man, it's like all this new Dune stuff is so boring. You know? I bet it'll be interesting when they finally get to God Emperor of Dune, because God Emperor of Dune is real cool. But like most of Dune is literally just like, you know, waiting and a few esoteric things thrown in tastefully here or there. It's not something to write home about at the end of the day. So, this is from the heart. A lot of Catholics talk a big game about poverty and abstinence, while demanding people dress in nice clothes. I'll abide by those rules all day, but at the end of it, it don't matter. As much love as I have for Catholicism, when I see an archbishop or something along those lines talking about the dangers of comfort, the poor Protestant peasant blood inside of me, pumping through my veins, starts screaming. Bare feet, clothes with hand-patched holes in them, the smell of sweat, but without the noticeable pheromones of fear. That's a vibe. Yeah, I also get how a nice, clean church can be... It's very comforting, right? But I felt both ends of that spectrum, and it does not matter. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's not the heart of the issues. Yes, demons of pestilence are real. I've seen them. I've excised them. Anybody who is really up on their first aid will also be able to say that. But if God made that bacteria, God is there too. It is up to us, breakers of the garden, to determine where best to reconstruct the borders, to best honor the gifts God gave us. That's some real shit. J.R.R. Tolkien is a fascinating feller, because he obviously picked up a bunch of anthroposophy from Masonic book clubs back when he was an Anglican in England. However, he went off to war, and he went off to war with it in his head. And instead of being in the book club dictates, where they're all picky, Reddit-brained, he went off to war and saw real shit. And he was like, actually, war and engineering is for subhumans. Trees are based, and half of wizards are evil. Great points. Great points, Ophelia. Well, let's get into these regular notes here. Walter. Put your dick away, Gwalter. I'm not gonna have sex with you, Gwalter. Did you know that Gwalter is Walter in, what was it, Norwegian, I believe? I found that out after going on the Oscar Muppet Wikipedia page, finding out he's called Gwalter in Norway, I believe. If you're not fat and fetid after Super Bowl Sunday, is you even alive? And ponder on that. Official decree. Anyone who likes Keemstar goes to the Georgia bauxite mines. That is the word. For real though. God, man. Oh, cringe. I know I'm pretty cringe, you know what I'm saying? I don't pretend to not be cringe, but literally cringe minor with cringe long, cringe all over himself, face painted in cringe. And that's a guy I'm gonna look up to. Yeah, right. I'd rather go to Null for my cringe. Thank you very much. Content alert. The grossest guy you know is installing a sex swing in his house. Content alert. Content alert. Here's an interesting thing about Charles Darwin, right? When he was younger, he endeavored to eat every species he discovered. That didn't work out very well in the long run. However, you can see this changing over time. But he also thought back in the day that women's menstrual cycles, because they were tied to the moon cycles because of the liquid nature of it, he thought that they were part fish. Legitimately, you can go and find this in Charles Darwin's early writing. It's very Lovecraftian, is it not? Is it not? But when he was older, he focused more on the cooperation of species. And he started to get closer and closer to the truth. And a lot of these freaks that push his shit, I talk a little bit of shit about the Victorian culture. It was mainly Victorians, Masonic-backed Victorians, that said that his early works on evolution were the standards, that they were foolproof, right? And they were very foolish indeed. So, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know what I'm saying? I never had a bad neighbor until city folks started to flood in here. It's a shame. You know, you had your bad person every once in a while wandering around, but for the most part, it was good people doing good things. And now you got this polished turd society under DeSantis. Not a fan of it. And like the little bit that he does that's good is very much drowned out by the long-term consequences of his actions. And I personally think, and I've said this before many times in personal conversation, that DeSantis was always set up as the wrestling hero, and the states that locked down as the wrestling foil, and that in the process of exerting immense amount of control and testing the waters to see who, how, and where and when the control could best be shifted around to invest more efficiently in control and not invest in some other areas and find different tactics of control. I think that he was set up to be the John Cena of COVID. And people still say that that's the thing, you know, that's the one thing that they like about him, is how he handled COVID. But I hate to say this, you know what I'm saying, but and this is gonna upset some of you, but it's true. Who's the first person to lock down? It was Trump. Who is Trump listening to? Like, Zionists who are telling him to print trillions of dollars and pump the vaccine market. Let's hope that he does not fall for that again, you know what I'm saying? Because he should have the wisdom to learn from that and apply that to his future decisions. He should. And the fact that he's very friendly with the Jordan King makes me a lot happier. I've said on a previous episode that the last time I saw Null, the last time I went on the website and checked out what he was up to, he was literally baying for the blood of Jordan. Jordan. You know, in the history of Jordan, it was created by the English. It's called Transjordan. But at the same time, it is like the remnants of the most noble parts of the Arab world period of the Mamelukes and the Ottomans. And they have had the most peace of any Middle Eastern country. They have the best diplomacy. So if you're banned for the blood of Jordans, man, I don't trust you around Christians. You know what I'm saying? The Christian population in the Middle East over the last 25 years has depleted massively. And who's filling up that gap? ISIS. The worst Christians. There are some insane, the worst Muslims. There are some insane Christians, the worst Christians, that say Muhammadans are responsible for all the Christian attacks on the planet. And that's just not true, you know, it's your own guys. It's your own guys. And, you know, you can trace a lineage back, but mostly in the last 30 years through our propaganda, through our own propaganda, through our hyperviolence of the 80s and 90s, through our inability to see proper borders. We have evil empired ourselves into the worst enemies of Christianity on the planet, America. And that's changing right now. And I have a lot of faith in J.D. Vance, and I have a lot of faith in Marco Rubio. And I think that being around that, Trump, who is somebody who has this global scope and always has, will be a lot more focused on the nation of America and how it can attune better to true Christianity. And you know what? I lost a lot of faith in people like Frank Zappa when I saw them going, it's a theology. You should never strive for theology. It's just like, you don't know your history. You don't know your history. You cannot have a country. You cannot have a nation without a religion that it prescribes to. Straight up. And that's the thing about having these gigantic nations, these national bloats that I've previously gone into can be a little bit shaky and hard to manage. These national bloats will have multiple different religions contained, and then they'll either send them out or purge them by force. And that's a very bad thing, but ultimately you need to carve out this section is, that, this section is that. And here in America, we're all Christians. We're all Christians. Whether you're Catholic, whether you're Protestant, we're all Christians. And that is our country's religion. And if you're not a Christian, fine. But if you attack Christianity as the religion of the nation, you are an enemy of our nation. And it was switched to where if you were a Christian, you're an enemy of the state. But the state is bullshit. And I'm officially done with the concept of a secular state. This shit don't exist. That's not real. It's a pipe dream. It's a pipe dream cooked up by book club freaks. That's all. Bird flu is a great excuse for why the greenwash policy that's been implemented by these same people has genocided the birds' homes, searching for quick resources, getting an easement on the land, getting permissions to do whatever they want, and wiping it out so that they could create solar farms. Game of Thrones is pretty much koi slop. I could say that pretty officially without ever watching a second of the show. It's terrible, and the people who like it are terrible. And I think it's really meant to more brainwash Americans than anything. I think J.R.R. Martin, like Stephen King, is paid more to be a pedophile, to be a like in the case of Stephen King, a pedophile, in the case of J.R.R. Martin, incest monger. I think they're paid to do that. They're receptive to the market, and then they're pushing these thoughts to people in response to getting paid more to do so. That's my personal thoughts on the issue. And fuck J.R.R. Martin, he literally ruined the Soul series. And I'm never gonna play Elden Ring. Never. I still need to get into Sekiro though, because that's that true Japanese shit from the soul of the FromSoft team. And as I said, I don't respect you if you're anonymous. For all I know, you're in Gujarat with USAID money. You hear that video Anonymous sent to Trump? It slaps of Mossad, you feel me? Sit and spin, Kykles. This is not your W. They wanted to kill Trump. Behind the scenes, they wanted to kill Trump. And now they're seething. And, Elon Musk throwing an Argentinian salute is not the thing that they're seething about. They're seething the fact that they've lost control of the situation. And they might never get it back. Because right now is a delicate time, given what has been done. And I thought if they can consolidate enough power, if they could... It was ritualistic human sacrifice killing that would get them what they wanted. And it's not... Trump's not afraid of Netanyahu, people who think that he is. He dropped the aid from 20 billion to 1 billion. That's a good start. And if they don't do what he wants them to do, he'll drop it even farther. And that's a even better pathway. I am more into the RFK end of the coalition. What I just want to see is these destructive, cheating freaks get the fuck out of my country. I don't really care who's triggering the libs. Maybe grow up about it. Oh, apparently my godfather is really sick right now. Some crazy New York lady got him on ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, and he was convinced everything was caused by parasites, like he's some sort of a medieval peasant, and he probably got sicker, thought that the parasites were winning, took more of it, got even sicker, and now he's like really deathly ill. It's very sad. It's my godfather. And I knew that it was happening, but I just kind of ceded I was just like, hey man, blueberries are really good for you. I was kind of ceded the decision to him while instructing him on how properly to act. And that's the consequences of allowing people to go their own way. It's people have free will, and people can choose to go the wrong direction with the right intent in their heart. So, it is what it is. The only socialist governments that got attacked maliciously are the ones that bent towards a nationalist outlook. And I'm not necessarily talking about the NSDAP, but they were absolutely targeted and attacked by everybody around the world for a very long period of time. And talking more about Latin America, if you study Latin American history as much as I have, you'll notice that there's a lot of socialist governments that popped up. There's a lot of communist governments that popped up. There's a lot of liberation theology. It's adjacent to the Peronist sort of Argentinian, Chilean sick shit. And there's some real sick shit around Pinochet. He sterilized 300,000 women. And he's venerated as a right-wing hero. That is what I mean by far-right extremism. Pinochetism is far-right extremism. Like, you can joke all you want about throwing commies off of helicopters, but your main guy is a mass baby killer. Ooh. Hey, I might be capturing a rocket launch. Yeah, guys, listen up. It's only going to get louder. Actually, it's a pretty small one. I wish I could show you guys. It's very beautiful, but this time of day it wouldn't be much. Pretty cool. Part and parcel of living on the Space Coast. And I actually like that efficient rumble. It's very enjoyable if it's not at 3 in the morning. So let's turn this back down. There it goes, launching another thingy up into space region. Keeps going. Because the sound is a little delayed. There's a lot of rocket fuel that gets burnt in the process of it getting sent up. I didn't plan on that. I didn't realize there was going to be a launch. I just started streaming. Oh well. Imagine coming back from Vietnam to see your own country destroyed, because that's exactly what happened in the late 60s, early 70s. It would drive you nuts. What a good nationalist country entails involves strong borders, a well-armed population. Sorry if that scares some people, but you need a well-armed population. You need to be able to have the common sense to not be afraid of the people that you live with shooting you. And to have a level of respect for your neighbors, that you're not afraid of your neighbors shooting you. Have a level of interaction with your local community to point out if there is some genuinely scary people around and what they're up to, and et cetera, et cetera. It's one of the big things that makes Kiwi Farms very viable. Not like that exact thing hasn't been happening for decades and decades and decades through other metrics. It was just a good place that, in some levels, suppressed censorship enough so it could be shared, even though it did dock some people, which naturally, if you're a horrible blight on society and everywhere you go gets damaged and abused, the people who are ignorant get abused, you literally should, like a sex offender registry, have that shit emailed to everybody around you if you're an issue like that, for real. And that's the highest aspiration for things like Kiwi Farms, and it's a noble aspiration that serves a lot of good purpose in our potentiality. And the welfare system which should exist, should be designed specifically to get people back up on their feet, because people will always end up having bad things happen to them. A lot of times it will be no fault of their own, and there should be some ladder. That's the entire purpose of society. Society started when people started to care for people who had broken bones. That's when society started. It's all been built up out of that, and we're dropping back into complete barbarianistic anarchy, sorted out literally by pedophilic, incestuous freaks. That's literally who's creating the anarchy. Okay, so Elon, giving your little Argentinian salute. Hey man, you know, if you're triggering the libs, whatever, I don't care, I'm an adult. But as long as you know your history, rocket man. Jeep and Dodge are pretty cooked. Like, really, some of the shit that Jeep has been doing has been cooking their company. And if you know anything about Florida and me in this area has been like the mascot vehicle of this area is the Jeep. It's always been a lot of fun people having fun with their Jeeps in this area. At Ford Broncos and stuff like that, you know, the old ones, the good ones, before they became these $30,000 pieces of garbage that you see on the road today. I feel so sorry for anybody getting these new Ford Broncos. You know, and I love Ford. And Dodge has branded themselves as, like, demons. Like, seriously, you go all over the place, you see the sort of branding that Dodge has. It's like demonic shit. I'm not joking. I'm not trying to be like an old lady about it, like, for real. And then you got Ram and Ram Longhorn and all that Capricornian shit. But I have a feeling that Stelantis might sell Ram to a real motor company when they start going defunct, and then they can start making, you know, I don't know, real trucks instead of these toys. Anyways, I guess bald is back, baby. Brendaniel sold it to me. I guess a hair cell like me's just got a Malden seed. Oh no, oh yes. Alright, y'all, that was a good episode. Hope everybody stands tall, stays strong, and has a good one. Cheers.